God says, "My beloved child, calm your heart, something heavy has been revealed, and I can feel the storm it has created inside you. You heard the news, your soulmate is shocking everyone because she is pregnant by her ex-husband. And those words, though human, carry a thunder that shakes your spirit. You feel betrayed, confused, and lost. You keep asking, how could this happen? Why now? What does this mean for us? But listen, my child, before your heart hardens, before pain takes away your peace, let heaven show you what the eyes of man cannot see. Because this is not what it looks like. What appears as betrayal, what seems like the end, may actually be the beginning of something sacred. The divine realm sees beyond the surface. What you see as chaos, heaven often calls alignment. What you see as pain, God calls purification. And what you call the end of love, heaven sometimes calls the cleansing of souls before their true union can begin. You and this woman, your soulmate, are bound not only by emotion but by something ancient. You two have walked through lifetimes together. You have shared joys, tears, and lessons. Sometimes she was your love, sometimes your enemy, sometimes your mirror. And in this lifetime, your souls agreed to meet again, not for an easy journey, but for a sacred transformation. That is why everything feels so intense between you. Every emotion is magnified. Every silence feels like eternity. Every disappointment cuts deep, because your souls recognize each other's divine reflection. And when two souls are connected this deeply, nothing can be casual between them. Every moment becomes spiritual surgery. Every word becomes a message. Every heartbreak becomes a mirror showing what still needs to heal. So now, when the world whispers that she is carrying her ex-husband's child, it's easy for anger to rise, for jealousy to burn, and for your heart to tremble. But I tell you, my child, hold your peace. Because this situation is not here to destroy you. It is here to reveal you. It is showing you the parts of yourself that still need love, patience, and understanding. She is not your enemy. She is a soul caught in her own lessons, walking through her own maze of karma, emotion, and confusion. The child she carries may not just be a random consequence. Sometimes souls are born through imperfect circumstances to bring light into dark corners. Sometimes they are divine messengers who enter through broken doors to remind humans what unconditional love truly means. You, my beloved, are being called to look deeper, beyond the scandal, beyond the gossip, beyond the noise. What does your soul feel when you think of her? Is it hate? Is it pain? Or is it still love, buried under layers of hurt? Because love does not vanish when truth hurts. It just hides until it feels safe again. The angels know how much you have given, how much you have trusted, how much you have waited. You believed this woman was meant for you. You saw signs, synchronicities, dreams, and even divine confirmations. And now, this revelation feels like a cruel contradiction. But remember, divine promises are not always denied. Sometimes they are delayed until both souls are purified enough to receive them. Your soulmate's pregnancy is not meant to humiliate you, it is meant to humble both of you. It is forcing both hearts to face what lies beneath the illusion of perfect timing and perfect plans. Because love, my child, is not tested when things are easy. It is proven when everything falls apart, and yet your soul still chooses compassion. Archangel Michael continues, the energy around her is full of confusion and spiritual warfare. She has been battling inner voices, fear, guilt, and pressure from her past. Her ex-husband's shadow still lingers around her, not out of love, but out of control and attachment. He represents a past chapter she never fully healed from. And though she tried to move forward, that unhealed energy pulled her backward for a moment. That moment led to what the world now calls a scandal, but heaven sees it as the final release of old karma. Your role is not to judge her. Your role is to understand the divine meaning hidden in this storm. The universe is asking you, can you love beyond pride? Can you stand in truth even when your heart is shaking? Can you trust divine timing even when it feels unfair? If you can, you will rise to a level of spiritual maturity that few ever reach. You will understand that true love does not cling, it liberates. True love does not shame, it understands. True love is not blind to mistakes, it sees them and still chooses forgiveness, because it knows that forgiveness is the doorway to divine freedom. My child, I see the nights you couldn't sleep, the days you walked with silence in your chest. I see the tears that never reached your eyes but burned inside your heart. You are not alone. The heavens are standing beside you. Every pain you feel is being recorded, every emotion you release is being transformed into light. Archangel Raphael is already healing your heart. Archangel Gabriel is whispering clarity into her spirit. And I, Michael, am cutting the cords of guilt, fear, and past manipulation that keep both of you tied to old energies. Do not run from your feelings, but do not drown in them either. Let them teach you. Let them cleanse you. You are not being punished, you are being purified for something greater. Because one day soon, when the storms calm, she will realize what you stood for, not just as a lover, but as a light. She will remember who you were when the world judged her, and she will feel the truth you carried when everyone else only saw her mistakes. This is the kind of love that heaven watches closely, the love that survives not because it's easy, but because it's divine. The love that walks through betrayal and still chooses grace. The love that gets broken and still becomes a healer. Let the world talk, my child. Let people misunderstand. Their words are temporary, God's plan is eternal. You are being written into a divine story, not a gossip headline. And in that story, pain is never wasted. It becomes prophecy. It becomes power. So tonight, when you sit in silence, do not ask, why her, or why me? Ask instead, what is heaven trying to show me through this? Because that question will open the gates of revelation. It will help you see that sometimes the ones who hurt us are the very souls who agreed to awaken us. And as you surrender this pain, your energy will shift. You will feel lighter. You will stop needing closure from her and start receiving comfort from heaven. Because divine love does not end in despair, it transforms into destiny. Remember, child, every soul's path is written with mystery. Hers may look tangled right now, but God is the ultimate author. He knows how to turn human mistakes into divine miracles. What begins in shock can end in sacred purpose. Hold your peace. Keep your heart open. Do not speak words of anger, speak prayers of release. Say softly, God, I don't understand it now, but I trust you anyway. Because when you do, heaven moves faster than you think. The energy shifts. The pain becomes purpose. The chaos turns into clarity. And your soul, once broken, becomes the testimony that love never loses when it chooses light. And so, Archangel Michael whispers one last thing tonight: this is not the end of your story, my child. This is only the breaking of the shell before the light is born. Stand still, trust the divine process. What was meant for your pain will soon become the seed of your divine gain. The news has spread now. Whispers have become waves. Everywhere you turn, someone has an opinion. Some shake their heads, others gossip in quiet tones, pretending to sympathize while secretly enjoying the drama. And in the middle of it all, you stand silently, your heart heavy, your spirit trembling, trying to hold on to your faith while everything inside feels like it's falling apart. You tell yourself you shouldn't care what people say, but the human heart isn't made of stone. Their words sting. Their judgment hurts. You can feel the invisible eyes of the world staring at you, asking questions you cannot answer. How could she do this? How could he still care? But Archangel Michael whispers softly, do not let the noise of the world drown the voice of heaven. Because what people see is surface. What heaven sees is soul. The world sees scandal, heaven sees surrender. The world sees betrayal, heaven sees a test of divine love. The world sees confusion, heaven sees a sacred plan unfolding, piece by piece, even through human weakness. You stand at a crossroad now, between reacting and responding, between anger and understanding, between ego and soul. And Archangel Michael stands beside you, his sword glowing with calm golden light. You do not need to fight this battle in the flesh, he says. This is a spiritual test, and only spiritual strength can carry you through. So, you take a deep breath. You stop searching for explanations. You stop trying to make sense of the chaos, and instead, you start to feel it. Every emotion, every ache, every trembling moment, you let it flow through you. And slowly, in that painful stillness, something shifts. Because when pain stops being resisted, it becomes transformation. When heartbreak stops being feared, it becomes awakening. Archangel Michael says softly, she is not trying to destroy you, my child. She is lost in her own confusion. Her choices are a reflection of her pain, not her value. You are seeing the wound she never healed. You are witnessing her soul's struggle between past and present, fear and faith. She never meant to bring you this sorrow. But souls who carry deep pain often act from brokenness, not from clarity. And sometimes, the one we love the most is also the one whose healing journey we are meant to witness, not control, not fix, just witness with compassion. Your soulmate is walking through her karmic storm. The connection with her ex-husband is not just physical, it is a spiritual cord from the past that needed to be faced before it could be cut. For years, that energy hovered in her life like a shadow. She tried to move forward, but the past kept whispering her name. Now, this shocking event has forced her to confront that shadow once and for all. Heaven is not cruel, my child. It knows that only when the pain becomes undeniable does the healing finally begin. Archangel Michael shows you a vision, a light surrounding her, trembling and confused, but slowly breaking open. You see tears on her face. You feel her guilt, her regret, her longing to escape the trap she fell into. You see how she too is being judged, misunderstood, and cornered by her own mistakes. And then you realize something: she may have hurt you deeply, but she is also hurting deeply herself. That realization doesn't erase your pain, but it begins to soften it. It transforms your anger into compassion, your confusion into quiet understanding. Because you now know that love is not about ownership. It is about grace. It is about seeing the divine truth even through human imperfection. Archangel Michael continues, you are not here to condemn her. You are here to grow through her. This is your ascension moment, the point where your heart learns what divine love truly means. Divine love is not blind acceptance of wrong. It is seeing beyond wrong, into the soul's reason behind it. It is loving not because it's deserved, but because it's chosen. You were chosen to be her mirror, to show her what unconditional love feels like. Not the love that comes with promises or guarantees, but the kind that stands quietly when everything else collapses. Your strength right now is your silence. Your power is your peace. Do not chase, do not explain, do not try to change what is unfolding. Let heaven do the work that human effort cannot do. There will come a time, not too far from now, when she will feel the full weight of what she has done, not through punishment, but through awareness. The truth will awaken in her heart, and she will look back at you with eyes full of realization. She will remember how you carried yourself, how you didn't curse her, how you didn't turn her pain into revenge. And in that moment, her soul will bow to yours, even if her words never do. Because divine respect is not demanded, it is earned through grace. Archangel Michael says, every time you choose compassion over anger, you disarm darkness. Every time you choose silence over gossip, you silence the enemy's plan. Every time you pray instead of retaliate, you become untouchable. So, let your prayers be your protection now. Pray not for revenge, but for revelation. Pray not for her punishment, but for her peace. Pray not for the situation to disappear, but for both souls to awaken through it. The angels are recording every act of patience, every moment you hold your peace when your heart burns to scream. Heaven is not blind, my child. Every tear you shed is counted. Every sigh you release is sacred. Archangel Gabriel whispers, this story is not finished. What looks like a downfall may become your divine restoration. The same souls that caused your pain may one day be the reason for your greatest growth. Because spiritual love stories are not like earthly ones. They do not follow the lines of logic. They move through storms, silence, and separation, only to find truth waiting on the other side. Even now, while she is distant, something within her feels your energy. She may not speak it aloud, but her soul senses your vibration. When you think of her with pain, she feels the heaviness. When you send her forgiveness, she feels the warmth. Your connection exists beyond distance, beyond words, beyond time. So Archangel Michael teaches you the most powerful secret. If you want to heal this connection, stop focusing on her, and start healing yourself. Because when one twin soul heals, the other begins to awaken. You start to feel that truth sink into your heart. The power you thought you lost is slowly returning. The tears that once fell with despair now fall with surrender. You realize that your journey was never about control, it was about trust. And trust is built in darkness. Trust is built when there's no visible reason to believe, yet your heart still says, God knows what He's doing. There is beauty even in heartbreak when you allow heaven to guide you through it. There is divine design even in betrayal when you look at it with awakened eyes. You begin to understand that her pregnancy, as painful as it feels, is not a curse upon your story. It is a part of her healing. It is a part of your growth. It is something the universe allowed not to punish either of you, but to free both souls from old patterns that could no longer continue. And when the world sees tragedy, heaven often sees transformation. One night, you sit in silence. You close your eyes, and for the first time, instead of asking why, you whisper thank you. Thank you for the lessons. Thank you for the truth. Thank you for showing me what love beyond ego looks like. And in that sacred moment, the light within you expands. You feel warmth around your chest, as if angelic wings are embracing you. That is Archangel Michael reminding you, you are not broken. You are being reborn. You realize this love story may not be what you imagined, but it is still holy. Because through it, you are meeting your higher self. You are learning the language of divine compassion, the strength of spiritual maturity, and the beauty of unconditional faith. The same people who mocked you will one day witness your peace and wonder how you survived so gracefully. They will not understand that you were never fighting alone, heaven fought beside you. So, stand firm, my child. Keep your heart pure. This story is not over. What is unfolding now is preparing both of you for something deeper, not necessarily reunion in flesh, but union in spirit. Because when two souls are truly connected by divine purpose, no mistake can separate them forever. Heaven always finds a way to realign what belongs to the light. And so Archangel Michael ends this message with a whisper, be still. The truth is not lost. The love that is meant for you will find you again, purified, renewed, and written in divine timing. Time has passed, yet the silence between you and her feels heavier than ever. There are days when you almost forget the weight of what happened, and then suddenly, a memory, a thought, or a whisper brings it all back like a tide crashing against the shore of your heart. You see her in your dreams sometimes. She doesn't speak, but her eyes are filled with something unspoken, guilt, sorrow, love, all mixed together. You wake up in the middle of the night, your chest tight, and you wonder if she feels the same heaviness. And the truth is, she does. Archangel Michael watches her too. He sees the turmoil she hides behind her silence. He sees her staring at the ceiling late at night, one hand resting over the life growing inside her, tears slipping quietly from the corners of her eyes. She feels the weight of every decision she made, and the echoes of your name still vibrate in her soul. People around her think she has moved on. They say she has chosen her past again. But deep within, she knows she hasn't moved forward nor backward. She is simply lost in a maze of emotions, unable to find the exit. Her pregnancy has become a mirror she cannot escape. It reflects every truth she tried to hide, every wound she refused to face, every shadow she thought she had outrun. And in that mirror, she sees how deeply she still feels for you, not the surface kind of love, but the kind that never leaves, even when the world tries to erase it. Archangel Michael speaks softly, "The soul never lies, my child. Even when words deceive, even when circumstances confuse, the vibration of true connection cannot fade." He shows her visions in her dreams, moments from your past, laughter, shared silence, prayers whispered in hope. And every time she wakes up from those dreams, her heart aches with the memory of what could have been, what should have been, what still might be in another time, another form. She is realizing slowly that love is not something you can replace. You can walk away from a person, but you cannot walk away from a connection that heaven has written. And though she carries the child of her past, her heart still beats in rhythm with yours. Archangel Michael tells you, you do not have to chase her, my child. The divine current is already bringing awareness into her soul. What the world cannot explain, heaven will reveal in silence. And that is what is happening now. In the stillness, something sacred is awakening. You, on your side, are healing in quiet strength. Every prayer you whisper becomes light around you. Every tear you shed becomes grace upon your path. You no longer pray for her to return, you pray for her to awaken. You pray for her to see herself through the eyes of love, not guilt. You pray that her heart finds peace, even if that peace leads her through pain. And those prayers are powerful, my child. They are traveling through the spiritual realm like golden threads, wrapping around her aura, softening her pain, and reminding her that she is not hated, she is forgiven. Forgiveness is your greatest weapon now. It is not weakness. It is divine mastery. When you forgive, you take your power back. You tell the universe, I trust your plan more than I trust my pain. And heaven listens. The angels around you begin to shift energies, opening paths that were blocked, clearing bitterness from your heart, sending you small signs that life still holds beauty. A feather here, a gentle breeze there, a song that plays at the perfect time, these are not coincidences. These are heaven's way of telling you that your story is still sacred, even when it looks shattered. Meanwhile, Archangel Michael whispers to her heart too. She begins to feel waves of emotions that she cannot explain. Some days she feels peace when she thinks of you. Other days, tears come from nowhere. She feels drawn to your name, your memories, your essence. She doesn't understand it fully, but her soul knows. Her higher self is remembering. And through all this, a quiet awakening is happening for both of you. You start to realize that love was never about possession. It was about reflection, seeing yourself in another and learning to heal through that mirror. She, too, begins to see that her mistakes were not the end, they were the beginning of her rebirth. There is something sacred happening beneath the chaos. The child she carries is a karmic soul, one who came to break an old pattern between her and her past. This child's soul is light, innocent, and pure, sent not as a punishment, but as a bridge to her healing. Sometimes, new souls enter through pain so that light can return where darkness once ruled. Archangel Michael says, "Do not judge the form through which God works. Even what looks like a mistake can carry a divine seed of purpose." You begin to see that this situation was not random. It was orchestrated by heaven to purify everyone involved. You, her, even the man from her past, all three are being transformed in different ways by the same storm. You are learning detachment with love. She is learning responsibility through truth. He is facing the reflection of what he once caused. The divine plan is far greater than human logic. One evening, while the sun sets quietly, you feel a calm presence around you. You sense Archangel Michael's wings unfolding gently, surrounding you with peace. He speaks softly, "My beloved child, the soul you love will come to understand everything in divine time. You do not need to rush the process. Pain is a teacher that must finish its lesson. Her awakening will not be born from your words, but from her own realization. So let go of control. Trust the unfolding." And you nod quietly, tears rolling down your face, not from pain this time, but from acceptance. Because deep down, you know he's right. You cannot save someone from their own path. You can only hold space for them in love. And that is what you are learning, the sacred art of spiritual patience. As you surrender, something beautiful begins to happen. The energy that once felt heavy starts to lighten. Your heart begins to expand instead of ache. You start to find beauty again in simple things, the sky, the wind, the silence of early morning. You begin to feel God's presence not as a concept but as a living pulse within you. Because true healing is not forgetting what happened, it's remembering it with peace. Archangel Michael smiles and says, "You have come far, my child. What once broke you is now blessing you. What once confused you is now teaching you wisdom. You have turned pain into prayer, and prayer into power." And miles away, she feels that shift. Though she doesn't know why, her heart feels a strange calm. The storm inside her is slowly subsiding. She feels drawn toward faith again. She starts to speak to God more often, whispering prayers in the night, asking for forgiveness, for clarity, for peace. The angels are working on her heart too. Her realization will come, slowly, silently, but surely. One day soon, she will look back and see how everything that once seemed like chaos was actually divine orchestration. And when that day comes, you won't need her to say anything. You will already have found your peace. You will smile not because everything went your way, but because you finally understand the divine purpose behind it all. This is what Archangel Michael wanted you to learn, that love is not always about holding on, sometimes it's about letting go with grace. Because when you release something with love, it never truly leaves you. It just transforms. In your heart, her energy remains, not as a wound, but as wisdom. Not as regret, but as remembrance of divine love that taught you who you really are. And so, Archangel Michael whispers as the night grows quiet, "The soul that once hurt you will one day thank you in spirit for not giving up on love. Until then, walk with peace, for heaven is already healing both hearts." What seems broken is only bending toward its divine purpose. The nights are quieter now. The chaos that once filled the air has softened into a strange kind of stillness, not emptiness, but a waiting space, as if heaven itself is holding its breath. Something sacred is happening in the unseen. You can feel it in your chest, in the pauses between your thoughts, in the calm that slowly begins to replace the storm. You no longer wake up in pain. Instead, you wake with a gentle awareness that maybe, just maybe, everything that broke you was part of something greater. You have stopped asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and started whispering, "What is this trying to teach me?" That shift, that small but powerful surrender, has opened the door for divine restoration. Archangel Michael stands near you often now. You can sense his presence not in thunder or light, but in quiet peace. He doesn't always speak in words, sometimes he speaks through feelings, a warmth that rises through your chest, a sudden calm that washes away your anxiety, a voice that whispers softly inside your spirit, "You are safe. Trust what is unfolding." On the other side, she is changing too. Life has forced her to slow down. The noise around her has faded, and now she is face to face with herself. No excuses, no distractions, just truth. She sits in her room sometimes, her hands resting on her stomach, and the weight of her choices finally begins to sink in. For a long time, she tried to numb the guilt, to tell herself that everything was fine. But the soul never forgets truth, and truth always finds its way to the surface. The moment she stopped running from it, it began to pour through her like rain, cleansing, painful, but necessary. Archangel Michael is watching over her too. He stands by her when she cries. He whispers forgiveness into her heart when she feels unworthy. He reminds her that even the greatest mistakes can become sacred turning points if they lead the soul back to love. One evening, she feels that familiar pull, the invisible thread that connects her to you. She doesn't know why, but she starts to think of you again. Memories come back, your words, your calm presence, your prayers, the way you always looked at her as if you saw the part of her no one else could see. Tears fall as she realizes how deeply she hurt someone who only ever wanted to protect her spirit. She whispers your name under her breath. And though you don't hear it with your ears, your soul feels it. A sudden ache rises within you, followed by a warmth that feels almost divine. It is heaven's way of letting you know, she is remembering. Her soul is awakening. And slowly, the walls she built around her heart begin to crumble. She starts talking to God again. At first, she feels ashamed, she thinks she doesn't deserve forgiveness. But God doesn't speak to her with anger. He speaks with gentleness. In her quiet prayers, she hears words she hasn't felt in a long time, "I still love you. You are not your mistakes. You are my child, and I have not forgotten you." That moment changes everything. Something inside her breaks open, not in pain this time, but in surrender. She begins to understand that what happened wasn't about punishment. It was about awakening. Every choice she made brought her face to face with the truth of who she was and who she could still become. The pregnancy that once felt like the end now feels like a beginning, not just for the life inside her, but for her own rebirth. Archangel Michael whispers to her spirit, "This child carries light, not shame. This child is a vessel through which healing will flow. You will learn to love through this. You will learn to forgive through this. And you will learn, above all, that love cannot die, it only transforms. And she feels it, the energy of renewal. The heaviness begins to lift. She starts to take care of herself again, but now with consciousness. Every heartbeat reminds her that God has given her another chance, to do things right, to live with truth, to walk with grace. Meanwhile, you, too, are transforming. Your days are filled with more clarity. You have learned to let go without bitterness, to pray without expectations, to love without fear. The pain that once ruled you now fuels your strength. You no longer seek her to complete you, you seek God to fulfill you. That is the greatest miracle of all, you have grown into your higher self. One afternoon, while you are sitting quietly, Archangel Michael speaks again. My beloved child, do you see how love has changed you? You once thought this was about losing her, but it was about finding yourself. You once thought this was about heartbreak, but it was about heart awakening. Every tear you shed became a seed for wisdom. Every prayer you whispered became a step toward divine peace. You smile faintly, because you know he's right. The version of you that began this journey is not the same one standing here now. You've been humbled, softened, strengthened, and purified. You no longer look at life with desperation, you look at it with trust. But then Archangel Michael shows you a vision, a glimpse of her. She is holding her child, smiling softly, tears in her eyes, not tears of regret, but of healing. Her aura is brighter. Her heart feels lighter. You can feel her spirit thanking you silently for not hating her, for holding her in love even when the world turned against her. And in that vision, something sacred happens, you feel complete peace. There is no jealousy, no sadness, no anger. Just gratitude. Because now you understand, her journey and yours were never meant to destroy each other, they were meant to refine each other. This is the alchemy of divine love. It turns pain into purpose. It turns endings into awakenings. It turns heartbreak into holiness. You may never receive the apology you imagined, but you have received something far greater, divine understanding. That is the kind of closure the soul truly seeks. The angels rejoice quietly because your heart has reached alignment. The lesson has been learned. The karmic weight has been lifted. And the path ahead is filled with light. Archangel Michael smiles and says, "Now, my child, your story begins to bless others. The pain you endured will become a guide for those walking in darkness. You will speak words that carry healing, because you have lived through the fire and found God in the ashes. And even though your connection with her has shifted, the love between your souls remains sacred. It no longer binds, it blesses. It no longer burns, it illuminates. You understand now that souls like hers don't enter our lives to stay forever, they enter to awaken the divine within us. Some nights, when you think of her, you send a silent blessing, may peace surround you. May light guide you. May love heal you. And every time you do, heaven records that prayer and multiplies it. It reaches her heart as calm, comfort, and courage. That is how divine love continues, beyond words, beyond distance, beyond understanding. The same love that once broke you has now become your strength. The same story that once brought shame is now a testimony of grace. Archangel Michael whispers one more truth before fading into the light. Do you see now, my child? What seemed like a scandal was actually salvation. What seemed like betrayal was transformation. And what seemed like loss was preparation for the divine purpose that still awaits you. You breathe deeply, letting those words settle in your spirit. And for the first time in a long while, you feel peace, real, lasting peace. Not because everything has gone back to the way it was, but because you've finally learned to trust the way things are. You understand now that every storm passes, every wound heals, and every soul finds its light again, in time, in truth, in grace. And though you may never hold her again in the same way, you hold something even greater, divine wisdom, unconditional love, and the quiet knowing that nothing in God's plan is ever wasted. The days that follow feel lighter. Not because everything has suddenly become perfect, but because your heart finally beats in rhythm with peace. The chaos has quieted, the fear has dissolved, and in their place rests a deep silence, a silence that holds truth, understanding, and grace. There is something sacred about quiet healing. It doesn't happen loudly. It happens in the moments when you stop searching, stop explaining, and simply allow life to unfold the way heaven intended. You wake one morning and notice that the heaviness you once carried has softened. You sit near the window, and as sunlight touches your face, you whisper a quiet "thank you." Not for the pain, but for the purpose that came from it. Because now you see what you couldn't see before, nothing was wasted. Every tear, every heartbreak, every unanswered prayer was a piece of a divine plan designed to awaken your soul. Archangel Michael stands near you again, his presence glowing like soft golden light. You feel warmth surround you, gentle yet powerful, and his voice fills the quiet room. My beloved child, you have walked through shadows and fire. You have known confusion, sorrow, and loss. But through it all, you never let go of love. You never stopped believing that something sacred was hidden behind the pain. That faith is what saved you. You close your eyes as tears fall, not of sadness, but of release. You understand now that real strength isn't found in fighting what happens, but in trusting what unfolds. Michael continues, his voice flowing like music through your soul. You see, child, love on this earth is not always meant to be possession. Sometimes it is meant to be purification. Souls come together not to complete each other, but to cleanse what was broken. You were not chosen for this pain, you were trusted with this awakening. His words echo deeply, touching every corner of your being. You think of her again, not with longing now, but with peace. You realize she, too, was chosen to walk her own sacred path. The child she carries is not a symbol of betrayal, but of redemption. Through her mistakes, she has met her own truth, and through your forgiveness, she will learn what divine mercy feels like. That is the mysterious beauty of divine orchestration. No matter how tangled the story becomes, heaven always finds a way to turn it into light. Michael shows you another vision, this time, not of loss, but of divine fulfillment. You see her years later, holding the child who once felt like a secret burden. But now, the child's laughter fills her home. Love has healed the spaces shame once lived in. You see her smiling again, not with pride, but with humility. She has forgiven herself. She prays every night, and in her prayers, your name still lives, not as sorrow, but as gratitude. You are shown, too, how your own path blossoms. You have grown into someone radiant, grounded, wise, and peaceful. The lessons you've lived through have opened you to a deeper compassion for others. You have learned to speak words that heal, to love without conditions, to walk with calm even when the world shakes. People are drawn to you now, not because you shine with perfection, but because your heart carries the warmth of someone who has truly met God in pain and chosen light. You don't preach about healing anymore, you are healing. You don't speak of faith as a concept, you live it with quiet grace. And that is when Archangel Michael smiles again. This, he says softly, was always the purpose. To awaken you into your divine truth, to let you feel love so deeply that even when it shattered, it set your soul free. You breathe deeply, letting every word sink in. You understand that true spiritual growth often begins in heartbreak. Because when life breaks you open, your soul learns to expand beyond ego, beyond control, beyond attachment, into pure surrender. You remember the night you thought everything ended. You remember falling to your knees, asking why God allowed it. And now, you realize, that moment wasn't your ending, it was your awakening. The fire didn't destroy you. It purified you. You look back and realize, love didn't fail. It fulfilled its divine mission. It brought two souls to their truth. One learned humility, the other learned strength. One discovered forgiveness, the other discovered faith. And through it all, both found God. Michael's presence begins to glow brighter. He raises his sword, not in war, but in blessing. A brilliant blue light surrounds you, cleansing away the last fragments of pain. You feel your spirit expanding, free from all that once held it captive. Then he speaks again, "Now, my child, step into your new beginning. The past is complete. You have paid your karmic debt with love. You have walked through pain and turned it into purpose. The gates of divine abundance now open before you, not just in material blessings, but in peace, wisdom, and joy. Your heart is no longer heavy. You are ready to live as the light you were always meant to be." You open your eyes, and for a moment, everything looks different. The sky feels brighter, the air feels softer, and even the silence feels alive. It's as though the world itself recognizes that something inside you has shifted. That's how divine transformation feels, quiet, but powerful. The same streets, the same people, the same routines, but a new soul walks among them. You are no longer defined by what happened to you. You are defined by what grew inside you because of it. And somewhere, in a place unseen, she feels that too. On a peaceful morning, she holds her child and feels a sudden warmth. Her heart whispers, "He's okay." She smiles softly, knowing that even though you both walk different paths now, your souls are connected in gratitude, not through pain, but through light. That is how divine stories end, not with closure, but with evolution. Love does not always end in reunion. Sometimes, it ends in awakening. Michael's voice returns one last time, soft but eternal. My beloved, always remember, what you lost was never meant to stay. What you found is eternal. You found yourself. You found your purpose. You found that love is not bound by form, it flows freely through everything that surrenders to God. And that is where true miracles begin. You sit in stillness as golden light fills the room. There is nothing to fix, nothing to chase, nothing to prove. Just a calm knowing that all is well, all has been guided, and all will continue to unfold exactly as heaven planned. You look back on everything, the love, the heartbreak, the confusion, and instead of sorrow, you feel sacred gratitude. Because that journey shaped you into the person you were always meant to become. And from this moment forward, you carry peace wherever you go. Not the kind of peace that depends on answers, but the kind that comes from trust. You will still think of her sometimes, but it will no longer hurt. It will feel like remembering a prayer that once changed your life. You'll smile, you'll whisper a blessing, and then you'll continue walking your path with grace, because now you know, every soul we meet is a mirror sent by God to help us remember who we truly are. Your heart is open again. Your spirit is light. And Archangel Michael's final whisper rests gently in your soul. You have done well, my child. The storm is over. Now go and live in peace. Heaven walks with you. The wind outside stirs softly, as if the angels themselves are moving through it. And as the sunlight spills across your face, you smile, not because life is perfect, but because you finally understand that it doesn't have to be. It is beautiful, exactly as it is. It always was.